But like on the fly, I fact checked a couple things during recording.
Oh, like just on your phone?
Yeah.
You're not above like no outside influence during recording
No.
sessions.
No.
And
If you got a supercomputer in your pocket, you might as well use it.
ooh, is that a line from something? Because that should be.
It should be, but I don't think
like
it is.
Luda could say it in Fast and Furious. Are we on 9 now?
You're listening to the Spy-Fi After Dark podcast. Welcome to Spy-Fi After Dark. I'm here today with my friend Kris. Say hello.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Kris is a game designer. By game designer, I mean escape room game designer.
Hey, I'm getting a label.
You're getting a label.
I'm getting a label.
Is this a monument for you? Is this the first time you've ever been labeled?
Well, no, like someone recently found my LinkedIn page and they're like, why does this have nothing in it? And I'm like, well, I literally forgot the email that I registered it under the day after. It was an assignment in our like first master's class. Like, you're going to need a LinkedIn when you grow up. And we're like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so we just kind of.
I mean, it's not terrible advice, but you certainly forged your own path.
Oh, 100%.
You co-own escape room, right?
Yeah.
And you've run a number of other ones throughout the valley.
I was at 2 of them today, actually. That's kind of why we're starting so late.
Okay. All right. So yeah. But you went to school for game design, specifically educational game design, right?
Well,
something like that.
Like my formal education is in engineering.
Well, I mean your master's degree.
Well, not even. I don't have a master's degree.
Oh, I thought you did.
No. So you could have started the program, and it was still going through like accreditation processes when I was there, and I was like, you know what, like I don't have time for this.
I know you were BME for a bachelor's, right?
Yeah. And then after everything, went back for just whatever, and game design really stuck out. And there was a race between all of the different colleges to have like an official game design or games related program.
What year would that have been?
Geez. It's like 2013.
Okay.
No, it was 12.
12.
Yeah, it was 12.
Yeah,
because I was trying to do the BME masters concurrently with this, and then I lost faith in the first program, and the second one wasn't like real yet. So I took what I needed out of it.
From what I've heard about the BME program, it was kind of a clusterfuck.
Oh, we can swear on this.
Yeah.
All right, right on. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
That's how I
may have encouraged it. Oh yeah, being a year ahead of Alex really 2 years ahead of Alex. A lot of the things that happened to him and his peers were very briefly like debated over by our generation.
I see.
And so like I had a vote.
But you missed it.
Yeah, largely.
Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, so 2012, 2013, that sounds right, because that's around the time I was applying for college. And around that time, there were a bunch of new game design programs popping up.
Yes. Yeah, and I was TAing for some of those. So if you had taken them immediately.
Well, there was at ASU too, but there was also programs popping up all over the country around that time.
Oh, yeah, right. There was a race. And ASU officially opening in the October of that year gave them the one up on the Ohio State University opening in January.
Yeah, that's during that phase when the colleges wanted to embrace this narrative of you can get a career in games and make a good salary, and then a few years later the games industry is like, actually we have all the people we need.
Yeah 100%.
So like we don't need college graduates. So that kind of fell out a little bit.
The games industry, the video games industry, I guess is what you're really talking about, is only really just looking for developers all the time.
Pretty much.
Because they have all the designers they actually want.
Yep.
Or the designers...
You really don't need very many.
Right, but the designers that want to get the work really need to find a way to stand out, get heard, get noticed, get out there.
That's why I changed my career path.
What was your career path?
It was going to be game design.
Oh, straight up?
Yep.
I didn't even realize. When did we meet?
2000 and definitely.
In relative to your schooling, first year, second year?
First year, yeah, first year of college. But I think it might have been spring semester.
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
Yeah.
I remember
It was
thinking.
I'm pretty sure it was when Alex was living in Vista.
Yes.
Yeah. Which was my freshman year.
Okay. Then yeah. My earliest memory of you like really digging was wondering who and why people were screaming EULA
Oh.
inside of supposedly abandoned apartment.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just like,
Uh-huh.
I talking to the guy in the kitchen
That
whose
was
apartment this is. I'm just like, who's in there? And he's, I don't even know. It's one of Alex's friends.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, that was a joke between Alex and I. We so to give you
Was
some
it the
context,
actual EULA or
yeah,
was the okay?
EULA.
So what
I
was
don't.
the?
Okay,
Do you remember
so
the joke?
I'm gonna try to remember the context of the joke as best I can, but I have to start a little bit earlier to jog my memory. So, I had seen Alex play ping pong in the honors hall, and this would have been
would be how you met. Yeah,
this
that
would have
makes a lot of
been
sense to me.
this would have been fairly early in the semester, less than a month.
The spring semester,
No, fall
the
semester.
fall semester.
And then I asked him if he wanted to play sometime. He said sure, but that's it. We left it there. And then what must have been a week later. You know what? This is more than a month into the semester. This is a couple months into the semester. It was probably the last month, because this is when my sleep schedule started getting fucked.
Welcome to college.
Yeah. So I think what must have been no more than a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, this would have been a sort of the start of the last month of that semester. I did an all-nighter. I don't remember why anymore, but I went down to the Burning Bee as soon as it opened.
The
And
coffee shop that Alex. Yeah.
And so there's no one there. And he made me coffee and we just talked and we ended up like doing stupid voices and coming up with stupid jokes like in the span of 3 hours. Like instantly. And then
So your origin story is just a two-hander in a coffee shop.
yeah. Yeah.
That's
pretty
really
much
cool.
it. And it was a mix of sleep deprivation inducing much more humor on my end and probably the same on his end realistically.
He is really high functioning on very little sleep.
Yeah, but I think it's just that he's always affected by it.
You mean like he has like a sleep deficit that's like warped his?
Yeah, like it's not so much that he's high functioning at a sleep deficit, it's that he's been at a sleep deficit for so long that we just don't know what he would look like if he wasn't at one.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
That's just a theory though. I think because he laughs easily, and I think his like humor threshold is influenced by being in a constant sleep deficit.
Okay.
Certainly at that time. He actually laughs less now, I think.
You mean like in general?
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point in his life, he doesn't laugh as much.
Yeah.
Oh. Are we calling him out?
Well, I don't know. This is just intuition. I don't really know for sure, but he sleeps more.
Oh, wow. Do you think there might be...
There could be a connection.
Are you actually suggesting some kind of inverse relationship between his sleep and his ability to enjoy things?
Well, I'm saying it wouldn't be terribly surprising. Because that's a pretty common relationship for a lot of people. It certainly is for me. Like our Spyfall that we played last night would not have been nearly as funny if it was at 3 in the afternoon.
Oh God, was that last night? I haven't gone to bed.
Wait, for real?
Yeah, for real.
So how many hours are you at?
Like 34.
My goodness, dude. I don't.
Look, that pre-med grind really prepares you for
I guess
completely different
man. I just can't realistically do that anymore.
Well, I'm not saying you should start
No.
try.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know what my limits are. I'm not going to drive a vehicle after like 40 hours. No, that should be a crime. Real talk.
It should. It's much more dangerous.
My
I have gotten in many more near accidents from being tired as fuck than anything else, because that's the only instance of impaired driving I've ever done.
Sure. Back when Uber was coming up, right? Like the very start of the rideshare industry.
Mm.
I remember being in class and somebody was what was it? It wasn't surgical techniques. It was whatever. It was one of our design classes, and just offhandedly the topic came up about like, well, what is Uber? And then the professor was super interested, and then the rest of the like 100-minute session became an exploration of like what is the impact of surgeons having access to on-demand rideshare services before and after, or in the middle of an emergency, not having to worry about that mental tax of getting into a car and going from home to the hospital and just
That's an interesting concept.
And then I think not long after, they used to play the Grey's Anatomy show like nonstop in the design studio on one of the computers. We just burned it as a station, and it just became a permanent just viewing station of every episode that ever
just going through the seasons.
Yeah.
And then looping back to the beginning.
Right. And there's an episode where like there's a road accident, and it's caused by one of the doctors driving impaired, and we're just like, wow, did somebody set that up?
I don't remember the stats, but you're right. It's actually a lot more dangerous to drive excessively tired. It's startling, the difference to like drunk driving.
Oh, agree.
It's a lot more dangerous. Like,
yeah.
I think it might even be like a factor of two-digit factor.
There are people who get really used to being impaired when they're doing certain things.
Yeah.
Right, but nobody is trying to master drunk driving.
Yeah. The problem also, well, particularly with sleep, tired driving is just boring.
Oh yeah, I've found myself autopiloting it.
Yeah.
And I'm more okay with it now, but I know I shouldn't be.
It doesn't keep you engaged. Like I found for me that the worst is if I have very little sleep. Either if it was an all-nighter situation, or we're talking like several days of sub 6 hours in a row, which sounds like a lot for some people, but it's not much for me.
I'm looking at you.
I know some people look at me crazy, but
this is normally a safe space, and we're in your home. But I'm looking at you as you complain about 6 hours of sleep.
It actually won't get too bad at that point. The all-nighters where it gets bad, but like the mid-afternoon is the worst for me when it comes to like attention ability. For some reason, with my energy flow, like the morning.
Well, when are you waking up at that point? Like those days, like where you're dragging at like 3 p.m. Like when are you waking up?
Let's say like 9ish, 8ish, something like that.
I remember reading in a coffee table. It wasn't even a coffee table book, but like so I had an aunt who was a medical professional, and she would have like just science journals because she's a nerd. And when I was staying at her place, I would just be able to read them. And I remember being obsessed with this journal right in my hands of sleep studies that had been done in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and of course I couldn't understand like maybe half of the copy, just how technical it was. But there was a line that stuck out where like your mental readiness, your cognitive ability is very much affected by your last 3 days sleep experience.
Yep. I can certainly vouch for that in my life.
And around that time, so I was like fourth, fifth grade at this point. I was already dealing with insomnia and all of that, and trying to get through some of those days was a challenge. But reading that article, it sort of felt like there was an opportunity to explore that. And if I could just get like one solid like night,
one per 3.
Yeah, 1 for 3, then maybe I would be okay. And so began the sleep deficit that I would rack up until my mid-20s. God, that was like 15 years.
Wow.
And I still have like near total control over my sleep schedule now. And I think I had a roommate, Don. Do you remember Donnie? Did you ever interact with him?
I don't think so.
So Donnie would go home for the weekends back in college, and his theory was, because I never slept during the school week, that I only slept when he wasn't there, and he wasn't wrong. To be honest, I was thinking about how I met Frank. Frank was on the first and the third episode, right? When Frank met me, he thought I was somebody else.
Oh.
And when I met Frank, I was thinking, I need to remember who this person is in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah.
This is going to get really weird.
Huh.
He thought I was my brother, and it was like 2 a.m. and someone had set up a projector in the college, and they were not far from the Burning Bee, actually, and they were playing Marvel versus Capcom, and Frank had like demanded a rematch, and I'm looking at this guy going like, I very well may have played this person at some point in my life.
Yeah.
And it was a relatively new game, right? I'm just thinking like, I played a lot. I couldn't remember who he was, and I thought maybe I could remember who he was based on how he played. One of those like, like the way of the fist situations in a modern world. Like, this is how I'm going to understand this person. And it's
not a terrible theory.
No, yeah. I mean, I think it's true. You can absolutely find ways to express yourself in games with significant decision making.
Yeah.
And customization.
Yeah.
Right. So even just the color sets, I had zero memory of this guy. So it took me like a couple rounds before I realized, oh, he must think I'm my brother. So I queue up with my brother's team, and he's like, that's what I wanted.
I see.
To fight this whole time. And I don't know how to play that team. So it was our closest match. But coming out of that, I felt like I had earned, or rather I had, in his eyes, I had earned his respect without actually putting in the work.
Okay. Yeah.
And I wouldn't see him for weeks, right? And he would be walking through the dorm one night, and then he would see me coming out of my room. And then this is how we like really met, because at this point now I remember this guy, and like not 5 minutes later we're like in my room, we're going through my comics, we're talking about so many things that I would not have known about him from his gameplay.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think he was drawn to that game not because he enjoyed, let's say, the mechanics of it. I feel like
the cast of characters.
Yeah, because he's clearly like proficient in fighting games, but that didn't feel like a game that he grew up playing or was putting in the work.
Fair. I think
he just really wanted to play
Street Fighter,
and so was I.
Yeah. Granted, I don't know if I've ever played Street Fighter. I'm sure I'd be garbage at it.
When I tried to teach you Injustice,
yes,
you had told me you had never played Street Fighter.
Yeah.
So if you haven't played since then.
Yeah. So I haven't for sure.
And that was 4?
No way. Not 4.
Well, okay, so Agent Carter was on TV.
No way. Hold on. Not 4. I think it was 3 years ago. It was at Alec's house. Alec, not Alex.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I was a junior at that point. Because I was not living on campus anymore.
And you were still game design focused?
I think at that point, yeah. Not 100% sure, but I think at that point, yes.
It hasn't been that long.
No. The switch to web development was fairly recently.
Right,
Well,
right.
granted, I've been at my job for 2 years, so you know what? Shit, it had to be 4 years.
Yeah. Agent Carter was on TV.
Oh my god.
And I feel like you weren't watching it.
Yeah, no, because 20 years. Yeah, I think it would have been 4 years ago. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that switch for me was 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, something like that. Closer to 3 years.
And fighting games just never really interested you.
No.
Or
no,
do
not
any
really.
2-player games interest you? I feel like we've never really played a 2-player game, but then this may be one of the only
Generally-
times we've actually been hanging out, just the two of us, and not in like a parking lot after a movie or something.
Yeah, I know, right? Generally, no. I'm more into either single player strategy type stuff or single player or co-op story based stuff.
So narratives and puzzle structures. And
Yeah.
what about thematically? Is it like the epic that attracts you?
What do you mean?
Well,
The epic is in the storyline.
but also in the gameplay, right? Because in a
Okay.
fighting game, like regardless of the like another world tournament or what have you, or
Actually, here, I'll put it this way. What intrigues me about a game is rarely its gameplay. It's almost always everything else that surrounds it, which is
Fine.
then augmented by its gameplay.
So the production or the feel of it,
The world, the story, the art design.
well before you're able to hold the
Yes.
controller or have any kind of input into
Yes.
any of it that needs to draw you in.
Yes. Generally speaking, that is correct. Only
This is where we play so many card games.
no, even for like strategy games, it still holds true. Yeah, I say generally speaking, yes. I'm really into visual storytelling,
No, that's fair.
just in general.
That's fair.
Building any sort of story.
I mean, you say
using
that, and
visuals.
I'm confident that you own the most like books of everyone in our friend circle in that very modest library that you have over there.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'll put it that way. I feel like Dylan maybe has a library. I could see him like having one and just not saying anything about it.
He does read. This is true. And Medawar reads that
No, he doesn't.
he does.
No, he doesn't.
He does.
No way.
I found like a Stephen King book like under his bed, but like under his bed, and I'm just like, why is this like here? Why isn't this like on the?
He has,
And it was like the one book, but every time like I find like a book in any place he's lived, like it's always just like it's not where you would expect a book to be like hanging out.
he has
It's like a
read.
secret shame.
I know he enjoys reading to some extent. I'm pretty sure we've talked about it at one point or another.
I mean, if he's not watching movies, he's got to be doing something.
Yeah. I think so much of his free time is taken up by the gym.
I know. I wasn't gonna call him out.
Well, let's be realistic here. I mean, so much of it is taken up by that, and then there's a good chunk by us, and then a good chunk.
Like a healthy chunk.
Yeah. Well, a good chunk.
Yeah.
Not a bad chunk, a good one. And then a much larger chunk is Sammy. So, like, That's like most of his free time at that point, I imagine. There's probably some. I'm pretty sure he takes work home too, so work takes up a little extra.
Is it that he takes work home, or that he never really goes in?
No, that was only his last place. He had his sweetheart deal there.
Oh yeah,
He'd just do his work whenever he wanted to.
living the dream.
Yeah. Well, you live in the dream, but it was there's no like growth for him. It was cool at the time, but it wasn't like what he needed to go where he wanted to go at the end of the day. Yeah, now he has regular hours like everyone else.
Yeah, it's really lame. I feel like I'm the only person awake sometimes
Yeah.
during the day.
So you're no, it's funny because in the podcast I did with Alex that got corrupted.
Rough.
Yeah. One of the things we talked about was like the mechanics of the 9 to 5.
Oh, now that he had actual experience in it, now that he has to go through it.
Well, to be fair, he had experience before because his jobs before his last one
Yeah.
were regimented.
But now he's elected for it.
He got kind of unused to it.
Yeah.
And had to readjust a little bit. Although I don't think it took him very long. But we talked about that a little bit, and we talked about like ideal work schedules. And I was talking about how like for me it's like I have a good idea of like where my energy flows go, like when my spikes are, when is like the best time for me to push myself into doing something because I'll get the most done in that time. And it's like my ideal waking time is probably 9 in the morning, roughly. My first energy spike being at like 10:30, 10 to 10:30. The next one being like 2.
10 to 10. Is that when you're getting out of your car? Or what is?
No, if I was waking up at night, because I don't take a lot of time to get ready in the morning. Like, between waking up and leaving for the office, I mean, I get there at 9, but between waking up and leaving, we're talking like no more than 30 minutes. No more than that. And if I don't have to go to the bathroom, it's less. It's like 15, 20. This is like real fast. And then I'll pick up something to eat on the way, typically.
So like it's kind of like living on campus.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And
did we just do the whole 9 to 5 episode recap just now?
a good chunk of it, let's say.
Maybe not the biggest loss.
No, that's fine. There's not too much to say. I mean, you have an interesting schedule because
I don't have a schedule.
Yeah. That's when I say interesting, that's a synonym for
Right.
non-existent.
Well, the world of the escape room, based on just raw traffic alone,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like a 3-day work week.
Yeah, the weekends, Friday through Sunday, right?
Well, it's like on a sliding scale. So maybe it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or maybe it's Saturday, Sunday. Like holidays certainly play an impact on how this works. And then, well, uniquely the way we have it set up, because we only do private sessions, which like blows a lot of minds of escape room owners. Are like, how is that viable?
Granted, how else would you?
And I'm
it?
like, why are you putting like 3 different families in the same room?
Yeah, you put different people. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm like, we just charge these people like a significant amount of money, and you want to like make them share this experience with.
They gotta have a good experience with people they know.
Right.
What's the point?
And
you don't go to an escape room by yourself. That's stupid.
Well, so there is a community of people that do this.
Unless you're like speed running.
Right.
Unless you're like trying to get through it, like competitive, it's like a bragging point or something for you.
Yeah. Get those stamps, get those gym badges. And like I used to joke, and then someone reached out to us and they said, no, really, this is something we do. would you be willing to, stamp these passports as they come through? Yeah, certify completion and success. Great. It's like, wow, that's okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm here for you. But really a lot, like our business, because of that restriction that we place on ourselves, it means that we're dealing with like corporate teams or larger families like during the week.
But you're open. You're open all
week.
Week.
We're theoretically open like every.
But it's all booked day, in advance.
Yeah. And so then if someone's on site, then yeah, if you want to take some walk-through traffic, like, well, one, it's walk-through traffic. That's insane. Previously there was no reason to walk through this complex, but now that we have like the best cookies in the world being made next to us for 14 hours a day, there's some random traffic on that side.
Okay.
But yes,
escape rooms don't seem like a very walk-in friendly business.
No, so the experiment in the last couple of years is, if your franchise is big enough, can you set up in a mall? Yeah. One, like if your malls are still alive where you are, like that's great. Then maybe give that a shot.
That just seems like a waste of time.
Yeah.
Just set up in a much cheaper area.
Yes. Oh God.
Market online. Maybe throw up some physical signage somewhere if you want.
Right. Well, when you compare that, like, oh, this space at the mall is, say, 7 times more per foot.
Yeah.
A month.
Very expensive.
And the spaces are 3 to 4 times bigger by default versus other proven viable models. Then you really need to be churning out those numbers. And again, this is why it's an experiment. Right.
You really
so the biggest places are trying it.
You really ought to be in like a warehouse district, you know?
Yeah. And say, what am I going to do with these storefront windows?
A low crime area that's also industrial and cheap, you know?
Yeah. Ideally.
Yeah. Or even like, ooh, you know what would be great is the second floor of those outdoor shopping center type setups where they have like first floor like restaurants and stuff, and there's like a second floor that's like
I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think the biggest mistake with opening up in a mall area is you have this specific price point, right, of say like $30 or anywhere from like 20 to 40, depending on where you are in the States, like per person, per attempt in the game.
Yeah.
And you're in a mall, it's very like transient space where people are moving through, and maybe they don't want to commit an hour to your store, and then you're charging them up front.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is it's like it takes an hour.
Sure,
you're committing to a whole hour.
Or you're stationed directly next to, say, a theater, or an arcade, or even just a stray, like even just like a crane machine. Can you imagine like the damage that a crane machine can do to to an entire escape room industry?
Yeah,
just existing outside of. Oh my God.
Yeah, because it's the timing. The timing thing is what makes walk-ins very tough to do.
Yeah,
unless you could build like 15-minute or 30-minute versions, but then you're like losing the soul of the purpose of.
Not necessarily. Shorter games, even smaller person games, even single player experiences. I mean, the extreme end of all of this is like the virtual reality experience, right?
True.
So if that has a market, and it's hard to say that it does in like a public space, then any level up from that is valid escape experience territory.
True. Yeah, I've never seen it in person, but I've seen that there are VR arcades popping up in malls and similar type locations.
Oh yeah, there's a few companies that are really trying to push it, and they have been for years now.
It's not a terrible
like
idea.
Pre-Oculus era, like they were still at it.
Yeah, it's really actually not a terrible idea, because the commitment you're asking is much more reasonable. It could be 15, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Or it could be longer. The person gets sucked in, because it's VR.
Just the search for a whale willing to stand
there for 2 hours
behind a curtain for several hours.
I could see it. Happening.
Yeah, and then maybe you also sell the equipment proper.
Yeah, someone went to like get a shirt at Banana Republic, and they're just like, "Oh, VR, this is interesting. I'll pop in for 5 minutes," and then like 3 hours later, they're like, "Shit, I don't have any money for my shirt.
Well, I just want to be clear that nobody looking for shirt at Banana Republic is also looking for.
Making up some
man,
scenario.
Rough.
So as far as escape rooms go, obviously you say your work week is mostly just a few days, but are you like available to run games on any day just based on schedule?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you try to staff regularly.
I mean, you can, personally.
But
in this case.
yeah, I have to flex. There's also the distinction that when say multiple groups pop up at the same time, because you've allowed that to happen on a weekend or a high traffic day,
multiple operators,
right? Yeah, maybe they are overwhelmed, or there's something happens that needs to be repaired or addressed, or just something happens that's outside the normal realm of the game, right? And you can't really, you want to believe you can train for a number of potentially relevant scenarios.
Yeah, I imagine it's tough.
But when somebody's water breaks and you're just like, oh, okay, that was the first game of the day, and now we have to adjust for all the things that could be happening in the rest of the day. Like that's the extreme end, and you hope that never happens to you again.
Yeah.
But well, I guess what's more realistic? A party shows up out of their expected time slot, say. And
like
so
10 minutes late or something like that.
Well, no, like let's go super extreme, right? So like a no call, no show shows up 40 minutes later, like a genuine misunderstanding as to like when they had actually booked the room.
Okay.
And now you have to like triage that situation. That shouldn't be a difficult thing in like, well, any kind of scheduled service industry, right?
Yeah. There should be some like common ways to handle that kind of situation.
Yeah. And some facilities are prepared to deal with that, and others are just like, well, we kind of need you to come back later, or you would think that everyone is able to do that. But what I'm finding in research is that in actuality, any kind of like fuck up on like the party's end is just like, you just default, you lose your investment in whatever you had, because these places are too busy to try to work in an emergency scheduling for something like that.
Yeah, because someone else has the room for the next hour.
Yeah, and if you've,
and you need 30 minutes in between.
Right. And I don't want to bring this up because like in the context of a mall, right? Like what if that happens there? You hope you can work something out. And if everyone's here like on a whim, then yeah, that's probably the case. But if you're an event center, which is ultimately what most of these escape places become, it's like a venue, like you scheduled like a ballroom, say.
Yeah.
And then you expect to have like the 2 hours there for whatever you're trying to do. And if that doesn't happen in that schedule, well, you scheduled this like a month and a half in advance, and people drove out, or accommodations were made, or and I hate it when this happens, when 30 people Uber into your complex at 7 a.m. on the wrong day.
Oh, Jesus.
During their corporate retreat. Like that's like, okay, yeah, I will find a way to accommodate that.
So if I understand this right, you're a part owner and you're an operator of the space.
Yeah, that's right.
Your job, I'm assuming, primarily is just running the games, fixing stuff in between games, keeping the space tidy and whatnot, right? Something in that realm.
Plus also like building the games, adjusting the games,
and designing the games.
Yeah, a lot of these are because we have such an elite advance on our larger groups, especially. You can kind of customize these for the intent of the party. If there's some kind of say performance assessment involved in all of this, and somebody wants a write up or an accounting of certain players in the room, these are things we can do on site, uniquely because of like our 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 backgrounds. We were able to like come up with like a standard for all of this, and without having to like release footage, say, or like anything that would require significantly more production than just like a formal report the day after to whoever higher up wanted to see it. We're able to do things that most places don't care about to do, or it's absolutely not in like the mainstream escape rooms are just entertainment centers, right? And they understand that for just about everyone, no one's really here to play your game. They're just here to spend time with each other.
Yeah.
And thank God they understand at least that.
Yeah.
Right. But there are so many other applications of games in general, and especially escape rooms that you can offer, that you can explore. You wanted to design games, but you didn't want to just develop for anybody, right? You knew what games you liked and what kind of messages you wanted to promote in those games, and there's a range of experiences that you can absolutely promote in an escape room. Some places really like to jump into like the horror side of things, right? And so instead of really an escape experience,
it's a suspense experience.
It's a shared, group trauma, if you will. The what do you call it? Like the haunted house experience, or but not like the Disney haunted house, but like the terror.
Yeah.
Is something that they can lean into. They'll, and then these are the same actors who are at those seasonal or high profile events, right? Because this is their passion.
The theme parks.
Yeah. Part of the rise of escape rooms, how quickly it came up in the States, was how on board some of the set designers were in haunted houses. And in fact, the early conventions for escape rooms were not standalone events. They were piggybacked side things on haunted house sets. And so you like not like a Spirit of Halloween haunted house set, but no, like we're gonna restore this property and get new parking permits to accommodate people coming through this area, and licenses to mess with them.
That makes sense, because I think the first time I was ever exposed to escape rooms was a horror escape room. Not one that I did, but seeing someone go through that.
You were watching them
YouTube
somehow?
video or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's fair.
Sort of years ago. I have done a single escape room in my life.
Have you really? I honestly thought you hadn't played any.
No, I went with it was a company thing, Team Builder.
Oh, this was out of town? Is that right?
No, this was in town. It was in
Oh, okay. No, Alex
Chandler?
told me about one.
Yeah, I think he's the one out of town.
I saw that photo.
Yeah, no, the one I did was with coworkers. I think it was in Chandler or Gilbert. I think it was Gilbert Escape Room.
Yeah, sure.
Or Gilbert Escape or something like that. That's the one I did.
Do you remember the theme of it?
It was oh my God. I think I'd recognize the picture, like the poster, immediately. There was definitely it was like a robbery theme, like a diamond robbery or something
Some
like
kind
that.
of heist setup.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think it was like a diamond heist, I want to say. A lot of locks.
And how long ago was this?
Okay, so this was the old marketing team. So this would have been maybe about a year ago.
Sure. Well, ultimately, so it doesn't matter to me, but this is one of those things that upsets me. about when people say like, yeah, I played an escape room,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, with a corporate or whatever the context was, and they can't remember the experience. They don't have like a memory that stuck out to them, if not about the set or the design of it.
I can actually remember most of the room. It's just hard for me to
Sure.
translate it.
Sure, you're right.
Yeah.
Right. Like to put it into words.
Put it into words
is very difficult.
Yeah, there are a lot of different locks with different types of combinations.
Sure, but do you remember like the conversations or the interactions that you had with? This was with the marketing team back then.
Yeah.
Like not having moments
Not
that you can
much.
remember, that you can pull,
Yeah, not
that you could have
much.
like bonded over or talked about, joked about with the people that you played that game with. Like this is it's like a one-time experience for a lot of people, and if you don't like remember anything about it, and what did I say earlier? Like people aren't really here to play your game.
Yeah.
They're here to like hang out with each other.
Yeah, no, I think it's more of a function of the team.
As far as because you didn't really all elect to be there. You were told to go there for.
Cool. No, it was. I mean, it was optional. You didn't have to go.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to go.
That's great. Yeah.
I chose to go. I would have loved to do an escape room.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, no, but we had the VP of marketing on my team.
I know the dynamic.
So that I think that threw everything off a little bit.
Sure.
And he was a very brash guy.
That's
very Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Kind of guy. So yeah, I think that threw off the vibe a little bit, maybe.
You've been in an escape room. You can say that.
Yes.
I don't think you've played an escape game.
Perhaps we didn't win. We lost.
Oh well, regardless, like we make the distinction.
We were kind of close though.
Yeah. Well, it's super important really to any designer that the people that end up like using or being exposed to whatever their product or design, have some kind of opinion about it or get to like even if it's not.
That's how you organically build customers over time.
Sure.
And it's kind of a ego thing too, pride.
Yeah, to be fair, but when there is no opinion after it, right? Like a person just knows that, like, well, according to like my calendar and all historical like checkpoints I can refer to, I have been in an escape room. That's a design fail. Right. That's a fail on so many levels.
Yeah.
And you were there for a work thing, and so I'll give it a pass. Like I wouldn't count that against the designer or the team that ultimately ended up presenting that game to you, right? But can you imagine that reaction in any other like entertainment industry? Like, yeah, I went to this Marvel movie, and I know I went.
Yeah, it would be a sign of a mediocre product.
Yeah, and you're like, and how could people like get addicted to that or really fall in love with this hobby?
It's a suboptimal first experience.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, as much
only experience.
Yeah, it's their only experience, and I hate that.
That's true.
I hate that so much.
So how much of your traffic is corporate gigs versus non-corporate gigs?
You mean like by game or like by head? Like how do you want to work this out?
Let's say by run.
Yeah, okay, sure. It's about 1 in 4, 1 in 5.
Is corporate?
Yeah. And then not always like at the level of, like we need to book the whole store for like 30 some people, but like even just like a team of like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Right. Like if Shutterfly wants to come through and it's just like their immediate team.
Yeah. So our group would have been 15-ish.
Right.
I think they split us into 3 groups.
And you just played the 3 different games simultaneously.
Yeah.
And then
because they had 4 running at the time.
So my question is, was there a moment where you all, not you all, but just some of you from one game went over to talk to another team from another game about the experience they just had? Outside of like gloating, because apparently you didn't get out.
No, we lost.
Did anyone get out? Did anyone succeed, I should say?
Oh my God, I don't remember.
And you can't even remember that much, right? Like just a binary, did you win or lose? Like, can't even remember that.
I
Like,
think
that's
I
super
think
mediocre.
one team won. I think, but I'm not 100%. That's like an
Sure,
82.7%.
sure. Yeah. So I have very high standards for just about everything
Well,
that I do,
that's good. That's how you
right?
should live life.
And so like when there's that one person in the group that's like clearly just not feeling it, and maybe you never could like reach that person through your escape room, your escape experience, or maybe it's because of the party that they came in with, or whatever outside factor that you couldn't control. Like you have to let those go, right? But when like a whole group, and I'm not saying you represent everyone in that party
Yeah.
that played. If none of them, say, if they were all out here, and they gave the same kind of description as you did, and it's only been a year, right? That's a clear fail, uh, to
So
me, and I would never allow that to happen again.
so from the experience, I think part of it for me is I expected to be a lot better at it than I was.
Okay, what was your contribution
I
to?
think
Can you remember that much?
okay, so there was a step towards the end that I was primarily figuring out that everyone else was actually struggling pretty hard with. It was a geometric puzzle with pieces of paper that we unlocked throughout solving the other puzzles. So
You
this,
found these in pieces
yeah. So
across
this was
kind of
this was
meta puzzle.
the culmination
Yeah,
of
yeah.
all that stuff. This was, I think, if we had solved it fully, that was the last step, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And we were like 80 or 90% of the way there. And it was a bunch of triangular pieces of paper with.
But you did have all the pieces you need at that point.
I think at the end we did.
Sure. Okay. Okay.
So the triangular pieces of paper with marks, like circular marks with paths between them. So you have to like line them up and create the shape, which mapped to something. I don't remember the details of it, but I was like lining them up and
It's a very
doing
visual intelligence leaning.
And then there
puzzle.
was, I did find the code for one or two of the locks, and then
Okay.
I think I had seen something
That somebody else needed to know.
that I thought was going to be something that we needed, but like it wasn't clear. And then like 20 minutes later, we actually needed it.
Hey.
Something like that. I think I did that a couple times. And I found some of the locks that are not immediately obvious. They're kind of like slightly hidden, like you gotta like look through a door or something to find it. So I found some of those instances.
And you felt that your presence in the room was a positive factor overall toward your group's success. Like that clearly that's what's coming off here. But did your presence in the room contribute positively to everyone else's experience in the room?
That's a good question.
And really, that's what a team builder should probably encourage.
Ideally, yes.
You should feel needed or essential.
I think actually I do think it did help with some team building with a couple of my coworkers who were in the group, who I already kind of knew and kind of liked. So we just kind of became a little closer as a result of
that's important
of doing it and then talking about it afterwards when we went to a bar restaurant that was close by.
Oh well, maybe that's why you can't remember what happened.
No, I didn't drink hardly anything. I think maybe had a beer.
Hey, okay. Would you have imbibed more if you'd won?
No.
You were still in the presence of the VP of marketing and
it's just not really my personality anyway.
Okay.
Regardless of that, he drank more than us. That was the one thing about that night that is quite memorable is he didn't drink that much. So I make it sound like it wasn't.
You
really
don't
wasn't.
work there anymore.
It really wasn't. No, I technically still do, though he doesn't, but I do.
Hey, okay.
The one thing that is memorable is he leaked that the company was changing its name to all of us because we didn't know yet.
Changing his name?
No, the company was changing its name.
Wait, is this the same company? I thought you switched companies because
Nope.
I remember you in one shirt
We
one day.
changed names.
Oh, okay.
Yep, Infusionsoft to keep.
Yeah.
So, but he didn't tell us what the name was. He's just like, he kind of like offhandedly mentioned, like, yeah, you know, like we're changing names or whatever. I don't even remember the context. And everyone was just like, wait, what? Like, kind of like everyone just stopped and was like, hold on, what? And he's like, wait, you didn't know?
Was he covering his tracks at that point?
Okay, yeah. There were a couple people there did know, but most of us didn't. Because it was not wide knowledge. It was just senior leadership and directors. That's about it. I think that knew at that point. So, so what he did tell us is he told us the names that we didn't go with.
Oh, okay.
So
Can you talk about those?
I honestly don't even remember them.
Oh.
They were all awful.
Do you think this was the best of them?
Yes, it was the best of them for sure. And it's honestly not even close. They were bad. They were bad names. Straight up bad names. I think maybe one or two of them were just like, whatever. But several of them were just bad names. Like that would have been a bad decision to pick that name.
Am I going to be your first guest to run off to the bathroom during the recording?
Actually, yeah.
Oh, okay. You should put that in the title.
I could cut it, I guess. I'm not against
First
it.
cuts.
Since we had a break, I thought I'd stick a little mid-roll in here and ask you to consider rating or subscribing on whatever platform you happen to be listening on. You could find Spy-Fi After Dark on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and a whole bunch of other places. I created this podcast to talk with my friends and have a good time, but they also have really cool things to say and views that I think a lot of people would appreciate. And if you're one of those people, maybe consider sharing the podcast on Facebook or Twitter or wherever else you spend your time. I'd really appreciate it.
As someone who's drawn into like the world of a game on its production or its gameplay, would the company name change to any of those other names made you less enthused about working where you work?
That is a good question. Probably, yeah. Yeah, I think so. Some of them, even though I don't remember them, I viscerally remember how bad they were. Like, I just remember the feeling of being like, that is awful. I am so glad we didn't choose that.
Those same visceral reactions, do you have any from your gameplay experience in the escape room? Was there a flub? Was there
there was something with one of the puzzles. It involved a poker table.
Oh, I know exactly which game you played. It wasn't sure yet.
There's like a slot machine and a poker table.
Yeah.
I think you're stealing diamonds. I want to say
you're stealing
or a diamond,
basically
or
everything. Like it's whatever they have available. That's still like intact.
Okay. Well, in our case, I believe it was a diamond.
Yeah.
Which was in a case. But yeah, so this one with the poker table, there was like hands had been dealt out and were face up.
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to figure out what the hands mean.
Were you trying to bring in like other game knowledge into it?
I was
poker. Blackjack,
Well,
anything.
yeah. Obviously, I've played poker before,
Yeah.
so trying to bring that in, trying to like find out the pairs, like if there's like any suits like lining up, or I don't even remember what the patterns were, but I think it was ultimately useful. Later, we figured out so we needed something else to make it make sense.
And you remember like all of those moments where like, oh, that thing that we found earlier.
Yeah, vaguely. I remember more. I remember more the feeling than I do like the specific
Sure. Well, I mean, we hope you don't remember the specific details of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
It's all experience based design.
I think honestly the shortcoming of that particular game that I played was that it was just too over reliant on locks.
Sure.
There wasn't enough variation in it.
Mm-hmm.
And there were like some seeds of really good ideas. Like I loved like using the poker table was cool. And there was like to come up with a combination, you had to look through a dictionary, certain pages, and like certain words were circled or something like that. There are a few like interesting little mini puzzles in there, but it just all went towards combinations to locks, which is kind of like undercut the experience a little bit.
So I also kind of know when you played this game then.
Okay, when do you think it was?
It was in the fall of that year.
Yes, I think this would have been fall 2018.
Right.
Because we changed the company name January 19 this year.
Sure.
And the company as at large learned the new name in like either late fall or early winter 18. And the team builder would have happened a few months before that. Because our team also learned the name before everyone else in the company.
Right.
We had to rebrand the website, so.
Oh, that was on you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what we do primarily is we maintain the website.
The marketing.
That's what I do primarily. Our department, still a bulk of our work is based on the website.
So actually more than just about everyone else in the company, you have had to physically manipulate like the name of your company.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yep. I have affected the public image of the company more than the vast majority of our employees.
Right. There's a... So I can tell when you played that game based on like the descriptions you were able to give me of that room, because that's one of those rooms that fascinates me locally, because they've never rebranded that room.
Really?
Yeah, but I bring it up because it's had several like complete redesigns. Like you would not even recognize it was the same game if not for, say, like the stickers that are in that room with that say like "Don't touch this." It's their company logo. It bothers me that happens without trying to tell people that it's a new game.
Wait, when you say rebranding that game, do you mean the game itself?
The game has changed so much. No, not the company.
Okay.
It's
still Gilbert Escape Room, right?
It's one of them. Yeah.
Oh, there's more than one?
There are actually.
Oh, okay.
So I don't really want to talk about any like particular business or like their history or anything like that, but game design, especially in this medium, right? The medium of real life, if you will, can be so dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to change a game for a group is great, right?
Yeah.
But then when you have that data over time to be able to adapt a game for or to meet like different goals, expectations for the people that are coming into your business. Maybe you've established like a tone as a company, and then you want to adjust your games to sort of reflect that, or your demographic has somehow become like all kids and birthday parties and things like that. This has happened to some people, and then now that that's your brand, you have to kind of embrace it, especially if you're that's your niche in this escape slice of town. Actually, well, this is one of the more dense cities in North America for escape rooms, Greater Phoenix area.
There's quite a few.
It's actually insane. And so when some of them get to specialize, that's great.
It's actually, if you think about it, it's a really good city for escape rooms.
Well, it's a really good city for
metrics.
Gaming.
Because it's hot as fuck for most of the year.
Yeah, you know how this works.
So you got to be inside.
Right. We're all indoor kids.
Space is cheap.
Yes.
And plentiful. And finding big spaces is not hard. And you can find them in areas with decent traffic. And overall, the valley is quite accessible.
Yes. But also from like a technology standpoint, right? You
There's
can
also like
consider that
good
like
schools.
yeah,
With,
our internet across the state is like higher than average,
yeah.
by like a wide margin.
There's
Honestly,
good general technical aptitude.
right, right. And so like when people hear and react to like the idea that Phoenix is like a video gaming haven, and they're trying to wrap their heads around that, I'm like, look at all the factors that come into play. Like it absolutely is
A video gaming
for
haven?
video gamings, yeah. And then
For what part of video gaming
uh,
are you referring
like
to?
competitive video gaming, a lot of teams will relocate out here.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah. And just
Because obviously
there's game development as well.
Well, that industry is very not very developed in Phoenix.
Sure. What would you call it? Like AAA game design? Absolutely not.
AAA is non-existent.
No. But educational, mobile, and
Yeah.
what do we call it now?
There's a good handful of those.
And like web-based like marketing gaming. Like I hate all of that.
Marketing
I hate
games.
specifically like that branch of all of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's all being developed here.
There's a few. There's at least a few dozen.
Yeah.
The only even remotely AAA studio is Rainbow Studios in the Valley.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're not even close to what they used to be. Funny story, I went to Rainbow Studios in person in 9th grade.
As like a school thing?
As a summer camp thing.
Wild. They went out of their way to provide a summer camp experience.
Yeah, they did this for a few years. This
in
is
2009.
Yeah, summer camp was called Camp Game.
Camp Game.
It's a game design summer camp. That's where I fell in love with game design. I already liked it.
Yeah.
But that threw me all the way over the edge. And in my case, they had 2 tracks. They had a design track and an art track.
Yes.
Which was unique for a summer camp experience. And I think after my year,
there were 2 literal camps of people at the same.
2 separate tracks, and those were like 2 weeks each. And then after that, there was a 4-week. You could go to you didn't have to obviously, but you could if you could afford it. Go to do a capstone experience basically, where you work with a team of people and you make a game, which I did, thankfully.
You sure it was called Camp Game?
Yes.
Was game an acronym?
I don't think so. It was run by Ashish. I don't know if you
Ashish and Resh.
Yes. Yes.
I was a TA.
Yeah.
I also had to like straight up unofficially teach one of his classes.
That's great. Yeah, no, I in that experience for the design portion, the first 2 weeks. So we were using Unreal Engine 3, which had recently come out.
Wait, hold on. Was that the first year?
No, I don't think so.
Well, okay, real question. Are you in any of their promotional like photos?
Probably. Yeah.
Because then that would be the first time I saw you.
That's funny. Actually, I think I was. I mean, I don't know if their website exists anymore, because I don't know if
it probably doesn't
anymore.
But I'm sure the assets are recoverable.
But yes, no, I think I remember seeing myself in some of the collateral.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no. So for the design portion, I won an award. It's one of the best outputs for my group. So it was Unreal. We built 2 levels, one in the first week, one in the second week. This is Unreal Development Kit, the first like public version of Unreal Engine.
Oh, geez, that was awful.
Unreal Engine 3.
Yeah,
and it shipped with like a very light version of Unreal Tournament.
Yeah.
So we made levels for that.
Right, in the level designer.
Yeah. So that was great. I won a license for 3ds Max.
Oh, right on. Yeah. Did you know that was on the line when you were? Oh, okay.
Yep.
So in your so now that we have the context of you as a designer in a very short period of time, what were the goals that you wanted to meet that you thought you could use that you really could realize to get to this prize? Because at this point, you're not designing for general public. You're designing to impress like a panel of judges that you don't really know, but you've you know some things about them, and they've been teaching you. And
I think I focused primarily on presentation.
the presentation of the game, or your
Of the
ability to
level.
deliver it. Oh, okay.
So both of my levels that I built included interior and exterior areas.
And I just want to, you can remember these levels, right? More than you can
Vaguely,
remember this
vaguely,
escape room that we're
vaguely.
trying to piece together.
Considering how long ago I made them,
Yeah.
yes.
This was a decade ago.
Yeah, I don't fully remember them, but I remember parts. I can see some images in my head. So they both had indoor and outdoor areas, which heightened everything. And I did a ton of meshes, and like I really got into it. It was probably the best looking.
But
maps.
you were meshing too? Were you in the?
No, I wasn't making meshes. But
Oh,
they came
so you
with,
were firmly in the game design
yes,
camp, not the art
fully
camp. Of
level
okay.
design.
Yeah.
So they came with obviously Unreal had Unreal Tournament assets with it, bunch of static mesh assets.
Yeah. Forgot.
And they came with a couple levels from Unreal Tournament 3. So I used like some inspiration from that and did a bunch of kit bashing, and I think I had the best looking levels from that camp. There was like 3 winners out of like 24 people. But I think I had the best looking ones in my opinion.
Were they different categories that they had?
No.
Just
best overall.
Best 3 overall.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And then there was same for the art side, but I wasn't on that side. And then I did the capstone, and we made a game called Shadows of Windsor. We had a main character who had a top hat and a monocle. And basically it was a puzzle game. It was a puzzle game where
I've seen your game.
you have?
I've seen your game.
Okay.
So I knew your work product before I met you.
That's hilarious. That's awesome. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know if I have any collateral from it anymore.
Oh man. Yeah. So how big was that team? Because that wasn't a solo effort.
Okay,
You had 4 weeks to work on that.
Let me try and remember. There were, let's see, 1, 2, 3, I think 4 designers, 1 programmer,
Sure.
it's either 2 or 3 artists.
Were these artists from the art camp? Or okay.
I think it was 3. But some of them clearly had, I think, some additional experience. The programmer did for sure, because he didn't learn that in the camp.
Yeah.
Before that. And then we also got assistance from our TAs.
Right. Yeah.
One of them is Jeff Wall. I don't know if you ever met him.
I think I did.
Yeah. Years later, I
Wool. Jeff Wool.
Wool.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Years later, I got a beta invite for Unreal Engine 4. Closed beta invite. This would have been a year before it was actually released to the public. And at the time, I invited him and Keshov, his friend Keshov, to come check it out. Just random side tangent. So yeah, I think it was 8 of us plus the TAs. Primarily. And then Ben hopped in every now and again, helped out with some advice. Mostly it was just troubleshooting.
Oh yeah, that's that's like most of your time at a certain point in the the development.
Ben was the design teacher and also the teacher for the capstone. He's great. I would love to do a podcast with him at some point. I haven't reached out yet, but I will. He's a cool guy. He's actually really into fighting games. He made a fighting game called Aztez.
Spell that?
Aztez.
Oh.
It's like black and white with tons of red gore.
I may have
I'll
seen this.
I'll pull up some collateral so you can see what I'm talking about.
That sounds really familiar, actually.
He was working on it for a long time. He got he worked with a partner, and they got funding from investors to work on the game for a while. I think they eventually used it up and kept working part-time to finish it. I'm not 100% on that. I'm just guessing based on context. Images. Oh, there we go.
It's on the Google Play Store. Is that right?
I don't know. I'm not sure if they ever ported it to mobile. It was primarily a PC. And actually console, I think. Oh, shit. Uh-oh. We just spilled some water.
We did. Because this is a two-person effort.
Looks like I'm going to have to cut this one more time.
Where did we cut?
I went from... where did we cut? I think we were talking about Ben
Aztez, right?
Yeah. So yeah, Ben did all the art and all the design, did all the mechanics and stuff. And I think he actually did some combat design consulting for one of the God of War games.
Oh, wild. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would have been...
That was during the course of development of Aztez. I think it was...
at the earliest, it was 3. Yeah.
I think it was 3.
The super QuickTime heavy version of...
Was there one after 3? Was there 4?
It's still going, man.
I know it's still going, but like in that era.
In that era, yeah. Like at earliest, it was 3. It was potentially 4. Like it was more likely 4.
Which was the first PlayStation 4 one?
I don't know. I actually haven't played any of the PS4 God of Wars.
Well, it doesn't really matter, but I know he did. He consulted for one of them. He might have done it more than once, as far as I know. But yeah, he's cool.
He would have consulted on the interface design more than anything else.
Combat design was his
Well,
thing.
yeah,
Oh, but if it's QuickTime heavy, it probably wasn't. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I really have no idea.
Well, when we get him on.
I know it was one of them. I'll have to ask him one of these days.
That's funny.
But yeah, he's very cool. He's very smart, very into this stuff. And he's very versatile, which is the thing that's quite impressive.
Have you kept up with any of your, early award-winning design team?
Award-winning design team? Well, I was the award-winning design team for the purposes of the awards.
Shadows of Windsor didn't pick up any other accolades?
I don't think so.
Oh.
There's no.
Well, you don't remember it. Oh,
There's
okay.
I mean, it's not like it would have beat anything.
I mean, if it validates your efforts at all, I did see it in a future catalog.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's amazing.
As soon as you were describing that character, I was like, I've seen these assets.
The chicken bots.
Yeah.
That don't walk.
Oh, I didn't know they didn't walk.
Yeah, the animations got fucked up.
So you had sprites that were animated to walk, and then they.
Well, it's full 3D.
Well, yeah.
They'd done the animations, but somewhere along the line they bugged out.
So they were just never invoked.
They're just floating.
Yeah, sliding chickens.
Yeah, with light cones for their sight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These sentries just patrolling there.
And you have to use a flybot.
This is
complete
so cool.
puzzles.
Like, I was not expecting to come into this tonight going like, oh wow, I kind of knew you before you.
That's hilarious.
Knew me.
That's amazing. That was a really fun. That was my best school age summer by far.
You didn't do future game camps after that?
I TA'd a couple of them.
Oh, okay. Do you have any stand-up moments from? Did you meet any future real potential kids?
No.
Even just the passion for it.
I think I skipped a year. The year after the one that I went, wasn't involved at all, I don't think. And it was 11th grade and 12th grade summers were the ones where I was the TA. And both times is not, because they didn't get as many people. So
That's true.
Stats were not on our side, and then you ended up having to combine the middle school and high school.
I remember having a meeting about like, is this going to be okay if we branch out and try to...
Spoiler alert, it wasn't.
Yeah. Some of us knew that.
But I don't know if it would have been sustainable if that hadn't have happened at the time. Or it wasn't sustainable anyway, but at the time.
That's true.
But yeah, no, the first year I TA'd, Ben was teaching. The second year I TA'd, I don't think Ben taught that actually. I think it was...
I mean, at that point, he was too busy developing God of War 4.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because 3 had already come out at that point.
Oh, then it definitely would have been 4.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was doing 4.
Yeah, no, it would definitely would have been 4 if 3 came out at that point, because he would have that combat design. Because the second year or the first year I was a TA and he was teaching. That's when I learned about Aztest. That's when he showed me it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think he would have done the consulting the next year, I want to say.
Yeah, I do remember my brother playing Aztest, and so it's funny to know now that was locally developed.
Yeah,
like in-house.
It was locally developed, and for a time developed in Mexico.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah, they moved to Mexico for, I think, somewhere between 6 months and a year, to stretch out their funds farther.
Yeah,
because
it's just the two of them.
Yeah, because it took a lot longer than they anticipated. I think there was an element of perfectionism involved.
I mean, when it's your one game.
Well, to be fair, it's not their one game, because they had Flashbang Studios, which they did before, and they made a bunch of HTML5 games with Unity, I think.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Bunch of when I say a bunch, like I think a good half dozen, or between a half dozen and a dozen. So they certainly had a lot of experience between that and some other stuff they'd done. But yeah, that first year I TA'd, we probably played just as much Combat Evolved as we actually worked on levels. Because we were in a computer lab in the Computing Commons, and we could all get together in the same lobby.
To be fair, I encourage this. Right, you need to know what you're trying to make before you go off to make it.
Yeah,
and you should never stop trying to reassess what your goals are.
Yeah. Yep. It's too bad. That could have been a good program. Game design. It's just not enough jobs.
I mean, domestically.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, there's quite a bit more jobs in Europe. That's true. There's a much stronger industry in Europe, I think. It's weird because you would think it would be a strong industry in the United States, but it's really just San Francisco, Los Angeles, a little bit of Seattle.
Yeah, it's really only exactly
Carolina
as strong as it
triangle.
has to be.
Exactly.
Domestically, yeah.
And then, is it North Carolina Triangle?
Texas, too. There's a fair amount in Texas.
A little, yeah. Some amount in Texas. Yeah, you're right. There's a few AAA and AAA adjacent
like
stuff.
Blizzards in Texas.
Yeah, and there's Arcane. One of Arcane studios is in Austin.
Yes.
And then there's a large studio that does contract work for the big publishers, like they build DLC and stuff for shooters and stuff, whose name escapes me, but they're also in Austin.
Sure. And then there are the contractors, especially in like arts and asset development.
Yes.
That work for whoever.
Yes,
and in North America alone, like there's places in Canada that you like answer to.
Well,
right?
Canada is a different story. Canada is a strong industry over there.
Yes.
Because they got hella subsidies.
You got Montreal, you got everything up there. Like if you want to work around Canada, yes.
Toronto.
Yeah. Like I have a friend who has on his resume, he's just like very casually, he can mention things like, oh yeah, like Call of Duties, like half of them.
Yeah.
Some MMOs. But then when you look at his MMO list,
like 7 Ubisoft studios.
Right. When you look at his MMO list, though, they're like kind of all over the world.
Yeah.
Because
everyone
wants the same things, which is fine in the context of like environmental design, I should say. he's done a number of trees, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like at this point he might be the Bob Ross of
Probably.
video games,
Making
He
happy little
he's just,
trees.
Yeah, he's just not aware of it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone wants good trees. Those are good assets. But yeah, I ultimately decided to not go into the game design industry because I just saw the industry moving away from the stuff that I wanted to make, which was single player narrative, first person, third person type stuff. Shooters, stealth
Sure.
games.
Sure.
So
At
on.
first, like the real death knell is if you wanted to make like racing games.
Yeah, that would have been real rough.
If that was your passion.
Yeah, then
And
you've
you're just
got like
when
two
is
options.
this? Yeah, when is this Ferrari movie coming out? I need
Well, no,
something
okay, wait, you've got the studio that makes Dirt. You had Rainbow Studios because they made MX versus ATV, but they've been totally redone.
of how
since then.
informed you are in the realm of racing games.
Yeah.
This is going over my head.
The Forza, Microsoft
of course.
Studios, Gran Turismo, and Need for Speed. And there's a few indie efforts too, but that's basically all the big ones.
Was it Need for Speed that had a movie?
Yes.
The
It
Aaron
did.
Paul one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did that perform?
I don't think so.
Did it perform well enough for the company to have
I doubt it.
not regretted?
I'm pretty sure they lost money.
Oh, rough.
I never saw it. If I didn't go see it, you know what I mean?
Can we make this the video games to movies episode? Is it too late to transition?
Well, let's see here. I mean, we could for a little bit. We can go a little longer too. I don't know.
Well, so in my mentions earlier this week, I read that a second Tomb Raider movie was greenlit.
No way.
Yes.
That made money?
It made enough,
Really?
apparently.
I'm actually quite surprised.
I also am.
I'm gonna look up the box office for both of these movies.
Oh, yeah, we have supercomputers in our pockets.
Yeah, I know, right? When you got a supercomputer in your pocket, you might as well use it. All right, so it seems. Oh wow.
It's going
Okay,
to
so
be the
Need for
tagline.
Speed apparently had a budget of $66 million, which
Just production.
yeah, and it says the gross is 203. So they probably broke even.
Yeah.
Probably not much more than that, but they probably broke.
Well, it depends
even.
on how hard they had to market that.
Yeah, true. True.
Do you have the domestic versus overseas split on that 206?
Let's see, Box Office Mojo. The domestic was 43.5.
Yeah, that sounds.
And foreign was 160.
That's exactly how I expect that to have performed.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes these days. Tomb Raider box office.
Are you sure you're looking at the new one and not the
Yeah,
Angelina's?
yeah, 2018. Okay.
Was that just last summer? Oh man.
Apparently, what was the budget? Production budget it says is 94 million. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, I believe
Worldwide gross is 274 million. 58 was domestic. 20%, a little over 20%. Wow. That's not that much.
It really isn't.
That's an unprofitable movie.
Well, I remember thinking, because I remember at the time there was no way this was a profitable movie. Like I thought it was fine.
Like,
but,
there's
you
no
don't build
way.
a franchise off of it.
If you got 94 million just on the production budget, tack on another 30 million for marketing at least.
They believed in that film. They pushed that way harder than you're giving.
No,
because
because I remember seeing it a lot.
there were ads in games even. There were ads
in the theaters nonstop.
Sure.
And yeah, 274 million gross. They probably made 50% of that net.
Sure. End of
Prob-
everything.
like on average,
Yeah.
something like that. So that ain't much. 130 some.
Well,
Almost.
it was last month. Yeah, I think it was last month that Oh shoot, is it Sony that has the Resident Evil movies locked down?
I have no idea.
Well, whoever it is, they're going ahead with a reboot of that franchise.
See, but that makes more sense to me.
Sure, I mean it performed super well, like globally.
I mean, I don't even know what the performance was. I'm assuming it was at least okay.
Just rebooting
And you got enough
7 film series
Yeah.
with and you have to remember that film series was controlled by the star and the director and the executive producer and the husband and the wife all being the same 2 people.
Oh wow.
Right. And to attempt to do that over again with a different team, I think at that point you can just reactionarily announce
that it lost money.
Well, no, I think they're 2 different studios, right? Well, you have it open right now. Who has a Tomb Raider? It felt like to me that
Tomb Raider says distributor is Warner Bros.
Well, yeah, but
I have to go out of Box Office Mojo because they don't have this information.
I mean, I can meet you halfway. I think I can look up
Tomb Raider film. It's production companies Metro, GK,
yeah, of course it's Metro.
Square Enix, Warner Bros. Is Metro a subsidiary of Warner Bros?
I think so. But Metro is the studio I remember being connected to Square Enix, so that's why I reacted that way.
Predecessors, founded, headquarters, QBO product, parent, MGM Holdings. What are they? Are they not owned by anyone?
That would be
impressive.
Unique. At that point, do whatever you want.
Holy shit. Yeah, owners are Anchorage Capital Group, Highland Capital Management, Solus Alternative Asset Management, Third Point LLC, and Maglin Capital LP. So yeah, independently owned by investors.
Okay. Well,
interesting.
The Resident Evil team ultimately, I think, answers to 20th Century Fox.
Okay.
So these are unrelated. But yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. It felt like they were just arbitrarily announcing a competitor to the Resident Evil franchise. No, because Tomb Raider was second. Oh,
okay.
And there's like at this point in time, there's no reason to try to have to piggyback off of an existing a video game franchise, no less.
Yeah. You know the one franchise that I think would make an excellent movie?
Is it Uncharted?
Well, that too.
Have you played an Uncharted game yet?
I should have said 2 franchises because that's obvious. That's stupid. And it should be Nathan Fillion playing Nathan Drake.
I mean, fine.
You saw the short film, right?
Did he do a short?
You didn't see it?
I have not.
Oh my god, dude! It's not even that it's like that good, but they're like some.
Well,
moments.
who distributed? Why are there so? Oh, I thought you said Samoans in it.
No,
I was like, that's
moments.
great. Like they went out and.
No.
Okay.
It's clearly done at a relatively low budget, but he was having a good time.
I mean, he has a great time just being alive. Honestly.
Yeah, that is someone I would love to meet.
Oh, he's great.
You've met him at one point?
Yeah.
Comic-Con?
Yeah, the Comic-Cons.
Uh-huh.
Back when I was still in VIP relations.
Yeah.
All the things. He had this gag. Was it the last time he was out here in Phoenix? Or the year before? Where
should pull this a little closer, like this way. Yeah, to help you out.
He had this this gag throughout the weekend that he committed to in person and on stage, where he would just like sporadically give away a watch, the watch that he was wearing.
What?
Right, and he would do it like it wasn't on a timer or anything, but it would be like far enough that you would think like because you weren't there when it happened last, that this was like a very unique moment for you.
Long enough to where you forget that he's doing it.
Yeah.
I see.
So like throughout the weekend, he was just awesome, the watches he was wearing, he would just give them out to people.
That's awesome. Also, okay, the other video game that I think would be great is Splinter Cell.
Oh.
And there's supposed to be a Splinter Cell movie in development.
I mean, I feel like I read that.
Which is supposed to be starring
years ago.
Tom Hardy.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So I mean that could be
Just
interesting.
a really smart casting.
I have you know what? I'll even give you a pitch for a Splinter. This could be a movie or a game. Like
Like roughly when in his career is the Splinter Cell
Sam Fisher
movie? Yeah, in your
Okay,
pitch.
so my pitch, he's uh this would be like a little bit after Splinter Cell Conviction.
Is that one of the ones where he's a rogue agent or a double agent or
Yes.
I can't remember which ones are which.
It's the 2009 reboot. Basically, it's not really a reboot per se, but it's like we haven't made one of these for 6 years, kind of thing.
Yeah, I do know this one. I remember.
It's, in my opinion, I've only
at the time it was probably the best one.
I've only played the last two, so it's Conviction and Blacklist. Out of the two, Conviction is better, in my opinion, overall. Blacklist is a technically superior and better game, gameplay-wise in every way, but Conviction, when it comes to the story
there it is again, yeah,
and the presentation and the characters, beats it far and away. Not even close. Which is why it's better. But no, Conviction is he comes back and he's like retired, kind of.
Yes.
And then he learns that his daughter's still alive. And so he goes on like a hunt to find her. And they do, and there's like an EMP in DC, third echelon, and tries to like take over the government.
Yeah, it's just Taken, but on an epic scale.
A little bit. Taken with a global conspiracy.
Like we have 16 hours to tell a story, not 80 minutes. Like, let's go big.
It's 8 hours. Closer to 8. 6 to 8.
Are you playing these games on like the standard settings?
Yeah, like a regular difficulty.
Sure.
For the first playthrough. I played at harder difficulties afterwards. I played that game too many times.
Well, I do remember this game. There was a lot of like no kill, like mandatory scenarios in this one when you're creeping around.
I don't think so. Not for Conviction.
Well, again,
I'm pretty sure you could kill all the time in Conviction.
Maybe
Conviction was the one.
Maybe in the normal difficulty. I remember playing the heck out of this game.
Well, Conviction, like everything you do is lethal. You don't have non-lethal options.
Yeah,
so like
I shouldn't say non-lethal. I should say like avoiding combat as much as possible. Because like you're as lethal as you are at the highest difficulty of that game. Most encounters are mistakes. So if you can bypass those,
it's definitely tough. Yeah, but it's yeah, you do like melee moves. It was they did canned melee moves. So like you run up, like hit a button, and it does like a choreographed thing based on your context.
Yeah.
The angle you come at them, what stance you're in, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And then it had the mark and execute system and stuff. It was a pretty solid gameplay, all things considered. Like it was good gameplay. Blacklist again is just way better because they basically took everything and made it better.
Yes,
as the sequels should do. But anyways, my pitch for a Splinter Cell movie takes place in a country like India or Pakistan or something like that.
Sure. There's a river between your options, and
yeah, or even like inland China could work.
You're going modern. You're not trying to like.
Yeah, no modern. I think. No, you know what? I think India would be best. I'm gonna stick with India. Okay. No, you know what? Philippines could work too.
Sure. Just island hopping becomes a core
part
of the game.
Places where you got like some dense metros, but it's like third world.
Okay.
And Sam Fisher is on vacation.
You're still going with Sam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is on vacation with his daughter. And this is like a few years after Conviction. And somehow or another man, I came up with this a long time ago, so I'm trying to remember the details here. Somehow or another,
I thought this was on the fly. You've got this worked out.
This is more or less on the fly. I have I have the base idea I came up with, but it's been a while.
Was it during your gameplay run?
No. Sure. No. This idea I came up with maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. as part of theorizing what Ubisoft could do if they treated the Tom Clancy universe like a proper connected universe instead of
Well,
like
what mistakes are they making in
branching
your?
out. They're not connecting anything.
I mean, yeah.
They could.
What's James Bond doesn't connect them.
I know, but they could do like Marvel Cinematic Universe for games. It's a huge missed opportunity.
Is it though? Because it's a completely different team of people by the time the next game comes out. And
But you can have like the same creative heads.
Oh, true.
Have the same like core story team.
Fine, sure.
You
Is
know,
it?
you just find a Kevin
But real
Feige,
talk,
basically.
are these Splinter Cell games even being directed, say, by the same core team? I feel like they absolutely
no,
are
not
not.
anymore.
Was
Like
there
his
a point
Splinter
in
Cell
time that they
Conviction
were?
was directed by Jade Raymond, I want to say.
And then Black was.
And then Blacklist was, I think, also her, but then she left Ubisoft after Blacklist. Sometime after Blacklist.
Did she leave Ubisoft or did she go on another Ubisoft project?
No, she I'm pretty sure she's left Ubisoft and she works for I'm not even sure if she works for a major game publisher anymore.
I feel like she wouldn't.
I think she works for a different, like, larger company that does something totally different. But anyways, with the Splinter Cell game,
Yeah, that's
or
kind of the
movie-
move when you
Yeah,
when you
no,
have
right.
that kind of power
I'll
and
look
you're
her
like,
up.
I'm over it.
She's one of the few game developers who actually has a name that you can Google.
This is true.
There's not many.
What was the name of the Uncharted
She's-
director?
Oh,
I conflated them
there's
all the time.
Neil Druckmann.
Well, yeah.
Not the original. He's The Last of Us, and then the more recent Uncharted 4. And then Amy Hennig.
Hennig. Yeah, Hennig.
There's more. There's another one whose name escapes me at the moment. Let's see.
Yeah, well, I meant Hennig, the script writer specifically.
Yeah.
She was with Naughty Dog.
Oh, you know what? Jade Raymond didn't do Conviction. I lied. She just did Blacklist.
So already,
I lied. In
Different
2015, she joined EA and formed Motive. She was also to be in charge of Visceral, which got closed, which Amy Hennig went to
there you go.
until it got closed. In late 2018, no, it's just an award. She left EA Motive in October 18, alluding to a top secret project. In March 19, she announced that she had joined Google as a VP. That's right, Google. There it is. And she'll be heading Google's Studios Stadia Games Entertainment to make stuff for Stadia.
I'm excited for any Google gaming ventures.
Really?
Yeah. Just the reach they have.
I don't know. I'm not.
The amount of influence they can.
I'm not optimistic about it.
Well,
We had Amazon.
what did Amazon have?
Exactly.
No, what was like Amazon's mission in terms of gaming?
Exactly.
Like, they just acquired Twitch is all I can think of. Like,
No,
that
they
has
have a
nothing to do-
full game studios. They had.
To
They
do
certainly
what?
did for a while. They made a couple things. I don't even know. I don't even remember at this point.
Well, I mean, that's
I'm
kind
not
of
sure.
the Amazon model, right? Get your hands on everything, see
they
if you
have
can do anything with it, and then
CryEngine.
get out if it doesn't work.
They bought CryEngine.
They bought it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's now Lumberyard.
Like metaphorically.
It's
Or-
called Lumberyard.
Yikes.
Amazon Lumberyard. I think they might have straight up bought Crytek. I'm not 100 on that.
And what is Crytek?
Crysis, CryEngine,
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure.
a few other things. So yeah, the Splinter Cell game. So they're in like, let's say, let's just say Indonesia. Let's just mix it up again.
Fine.
And they're on vacation, enjoying themselves, and somehow they sort of get sucked into like a local political conflict. But then you kind of learn that they were sucked in because a larger like outside force sucked them into it.
So you want a Born Identity to this? Is the move?
I don't remember the story of Born Identity 2.
Uh,
It's been a minute since I watched that. I didn't have quite the same reaction to those movies as a lot of people did.
what was
I
the
thought they were
general reaction to
fine.
I thought they were fine too. Were people like enamored with those?
I remember hearing people being like, they're so amazing, like some of the best spy movies. I'm like, okay,
I
they're
do
fine.
love their hand
whatever.
cam chase scenes. However, they were filming those. That was.
I mean, the fight choreography is good
sure.
generally. Just kind of hit and miss in some areas, but it was generally good.
The magazine.
Oh no, Crytek is
Remember
still
the magazine in the
independent.
first movie?
Yeah, the magazine.
Yeah, he literally rolls up a magazine to fight
Oh,
like
you
a
know, I
knife
vaguely
wielding
remember that.
combatant. Yeah,
I vaguely remember that.
just like on the fly.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they get sucked into like a local political conspiracy kind of thing going on, and they find out that some other international group was like coordinating with the people locally to like say, hey, he's gonna be there, you can use him for your thing, kind of put him in that situation. And so they have to survive together. So it's not a situation where she gets kidnapped or any stupid shit like that. They have to survive together, like Last of Us style. I still haven't played Last of Us, but I get the gist of how the game goes at this point.
Sure, but the real one of the major factors about The Last of Us is that the game takes place over more than a year.
True.
So what is the
this would be
timeline
very
of your
fast.
movie?
This would be like,
you do like a 1 week, so not even
be like
a
we're
2 day.
talking like I'd say no more than like 3 weeks.
Yeah, okay.
And there has to be some sort of a situation such that he's cut off from his resources. So he doesn't have his team. Maybe we get the arms dealer guy to come through for him. Shit, I don't even remember.
Just
his name.
like a one-shot cameo appearance in like the end of the second act. So transition.
No. As like a supporting character.
Oh, okay.
Because I love his character. He's a good character.
But I guess how do you make such a scenario where it feels like where you can justify that it had to be Sam?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it a lot more.
That's literally the challenge of like
Yeah.
every like Mission Impossible film, right? Because like the
True.
teams are mutable.
True.
They're super dynamic. It's just an ensemble.
Whoever's available.
Also like in the context of the film, like these are the people I was able to get a hold of because we only have 2 days to work this out, and we're gonna spend half of those 2 days off camera in transportation anyway.
Yeah, I think Jeremy Renner was still in another dimension at the time.
Yeah, probably.
In the quantum realm.
Yeah, well, the Philippines.
Yeah.
Like real talk.
Oh God.
So like whenever they do the Mission Impossible films, like it has to be Tom Cruise's character, because in the film, like it doesn't happen, like they don't know ahead of time, but in the film, in the moments of the film, like you needed somebody with incredible like grip strength,
Yeah.
and just cardio and
I think
foot speed.
I think for this case, I would like want to tie it into his history too.
This is a lot.
So
you still want to make this a movie and not like a series?
I don't know. I think it would be probably better as a game, to be honest. But I mean, it would definitely be better as a game. But I think it could make a good movie. It's like there's a version of this that's tight and.
Well, so you didn't see the Tomb Raider film?
No, but I played the game.
Right, and the Tomb Raider film was like the highlight reel of the game.
Yeah, that's
right.
what I got because I watched the trailer and I'm like, I've literally played that sequence.
Right. I mean, there were some made for movie moments, in that film. Some of the puzzles were, oh God, they were not great. But the idea that they felt that they had to put puzzles in the movie, right? Because like, how do you make this experience?
Tomb Raider movie.
Well, how do you? Yeah. Well, how do you make a Tomb Raider movie where you justify having to invoke Tomb Raider?
Yeah.
To be the main character
without puzzles,
right? Yeah. You need those puzzles somewhere.
It can't just be a combat,
right? But you can't just like check the box like we did one, and so now it's a Tomb Raider film.
When we're done, I'm going to show you the Uncharted short film with Nathan Fillion.
Sure.
It's
Of course, it's happening.
It's good. It's not very long. It's like, I don't know, 12 minutes or something like that.
Well, I keep trying to drive home this point of like why, or not why, how do you justify invoking this character for this scenario? Because really, like there's two ways to approach design of a product, right? Like for the end user, but in the form of like a narrative, how do you design for the characters that you're trying to, to create? Because
if it's going to feel coherent, you know, it needs to have like an obvious driving reason.
Right. And the characters that are in play, they absolutely can be along for the ride if that's the kind of story that you're trying to make. But when you're trying to tell a story with an established franchise, you have to justify using that franchise.
Yeah, and so what I was thinking along the lines of is Sam Fisher has a very deep history. You know, he's got a number of games at this point, like 5 games.
Sure. But you are in the, it's not a big minority, but you are in the minority of people who love the Splinter Cell games because of how deep its catalog is and how disjointed it is ultimately, right? Versus the people who love that game because it was the game before we had like the Batman Arkham games or
they're not really that comparable though.
Yeah, but in the genre of stealth specifically, there were many attempts, right?
Yeah.
Over a decade before the standouts started to dominate and their core mechanics became like universal. Right, and a lot of them pull from Splinter Cell. So
I mean, I still think Splinter Cell is a standout, in my opinion, anyway. Blacklist certainly from a gameplay perspective.
Sure, I just from in like a movie, in like your climactic scene. Like if you end up doing some kind of like Die Hard situation, like that feels wrong to me, right? But what are you gonna do in that specific in like the climax of your film? How do you invoke Sam where it had to have been Sam and it couldn't have been any other character, any other franchise? Like if it was Jason Bourne, if Jason Bourne wasn't a movie, I mean, of course it's a movie. If we were making a Jason Bourne game, and there was one actually. There was, because I've seen because they didn't use Matt Damon's likeness. He didn't okay that, so I do remember that this happened. It was around the time they were still making games for like The Matrix, because they're like, well, look, like movies, video games, they have to make money together, right? Yeah. So they've since learned from that. Outside of say like Marvel films, where you'll get like a random Thor movie that comes out a year after the actual movie came out in theaters. But if you were to make like a Jason Bourne video game now, right, like your climactic like battle, you could do whatever you want, but at the end you had to have him apologize because that is like the Jason Bourne brand. He's just like, he knows he's like the best. He can do whatever he wants. Whatever he has to do rather. But then he also like feels bad for the people that had to be in his way. Yeah. Or that he had to use to get there. Like that would be how you justify making a Jason Bourne game, is if there's a significant portion of the game where you go around apologizing to people. Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like with Conviction, they kind of wrapped up a lot of the personal stuff with Sam, because you learn like who had his daughter killed
and why would they bother to cover it up.
And so you kind of do all that stuff, so you'd have to be pulling something new, or
right. So in Conviction,
new backstory or something.
Yeah, in Conviction, they justify invoking Sam by using his history, right? Because
there's
no real clear background in that one. Sure, but we're making a movie.
True, you're right.
We're making a one-shot movie.
You're right.
It's not an established franchise. What are the high notes, or not the keynotes that you need to hit? That should always be a question you're.
You know what could be actually really interesting is if it's not Sam's history that gets him in trouble, but it's his daughter's history.
Ooh, but is that a cop out?
What?
Because she doesn't have it. Because she doesn't have a history. The most interesting thing about her is that people thought she was dead for a while.
Create one for her.
Yeah, but if you're just creating something,
there's like this whole gap of her life that we don't know anything about.
Right.
So we could fill that in.
Yeah. Do you still want to make this as a movie?
I don't know. I think it'd be a better game. The other day.
Probably better game, better series.
Yeah, game. Our TV series could see that, like a Netflix series, like an 8-episode thing or a 10-episode thing. I could see that. Yeah, I don't know. He's just a good character. You can do something with it. And I think like playing off his relationship with his daughter is the best way to do it. And like, it's almost like an origin story for her because she's like an adult at this point, basically, young adult. At the point that this would happen, so it's just as much about her like proving she can take care of herself.
Would you be willing to do exactly that for the movie? Just complete like, you don't have to kill Sam, but you remove Sam from the movie as like the
he's
hand.
Injured.
Yeah. And so I know you haven't played Last of Us, but like the whole point of like The Last of Us is you're trying to. It's not an escort mission. You're trying to train this girl to live in a world that she is not built for.
Yeah.
Right. So if you are able to tap into that with this theoretical Splinter Cell movie, but in the first like 10 minutes you've completely disabled Sam. He's in like a box somewhere, and they're in like radio communications, so he can only like tell her like objectives, but she has to figure out how to.
There you go. I think you just broke the story.
Is that the move?
I think you just broke it.
There was a moment in the second Taken film where I thought that's where they were gonna go.
Oh yeah.
And then they just let it go.
And they did let it go.
And I was like, I mean, it was cute, but that's the movie I wanted to see, and I didn't know I wanted to see that movie.
You're so right. Okay, do you Taken 2 or Taken 3?
I hate Taken 3.
Or should I say Take 3?
I'm still waiting for Taken for Granted, but I'm so on board.
You hate Taken 3?
It's the only one I can't watch.
Really?
Like again. It's the PG-13 one. And
is it?
Yeah, and
the other two are?
Yeah, but I think I might have it backwards, but the real complaint is that it's the movie that feels the most edited.
Huh.
Like even in the same scene, like just between cutaways, like there's a lot of quick cuts in it, and it just doesn't feel as well done as the first two.
I could see that. I think the story to me is better than Taken 2. For most of it. It kind of falls apart at the end, but for most of it, the story is actually decent. Yeah, and I like the like rogue cop take, you know. It's not really rogue cop, but rogue agent.
Yeah. I mean, they were 3 movies in, and they're like, we need to justify.
Yeah, we need to come up
let's
with
just play the rogue card. Yeah, let's play the rogue card. But did they have to kill Phoenix in that movie? Like they didn't have to, but Phoenix. That was in a world before Sophie Turner, our Phoenix was.
Oh, you mean the wife, right?
Yeah. In the first movie, like Black Canary dies. In the second movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I'd say I liked it more than Taken 2. I've seen it more than once.
I've seen it twice.
I think I've seen it.
But like if one of the first two are on like YouTube with ads, like I might watch it. Is my wife saying like if it was on TBS, like I would let it play for like 40 minutes and only see like 20 minutes of movie.
Fair.
But there's no like 20 minutes of Taken 3 that I want to see.
The first one's clearly the best.
Yeah.
It's the tightest.
It's only 80 some minutes.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's a little over 90 with credits.
Yeah. And well, the premise of it and how well executed they managed to do it. That was insane.
Yes. They waste no time. It's very efficient. Well written. But the second one to me felt like it was treading over too many of the same themes. Like to me, like the motivations got muddled. You know.
Well, that was when you say muddled, like it's all the parents of the the bad guys in the first movie that died or that were killed coming after the man that killed him.
I don't know.
Come on.
For some reason, it just wasn't like as compelling to me.
I don't know if we talked about it. Do you remember the Will Smith I Am Legend movie?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the original, like the source material of that?
I know it's a book.
Sure.
I never read it, but I know.
Well, the book is, Omega Man, I think, and I even forget the author's name. But the quote "I am Legend" is the realization that he is the bad guy in their world, because relatively speaking, like he's the last like human.
Oh, wow.
Where everyone else is like this zombie thing that's just living their lives, right? And there's zombie communities, there's zombie vampire communities, having relationships and just carrying on with. But he never turned.
Well, that's certainly not.
And he's
how
going
it's
around
portrayed in the movie,
but it is up until the moment where they're in the lab and the male, like the alpha male, and then the alpha female like see each other and they realize they're still alive, and you realize, oh, these things as they're depicted for most of the movie, like are they're being humanized in the moment, right? Because they're ecstatic that they're still like alive and they've rescued each other, and they can take out Will Smith at this point.
Yeah, I don't remember that part.
Yeah, it's a super brief, and it's like they almost probably shouldn't have gone in that direction, because they were committed to making a movie about Will Smith as this survivor in a world of monsters.
Yeah.
And the original source material was the guy's realization at the end of it all that he is the boogeyman in their society, because he's going around, he's just randomly killing people while they're sleeping, right, during the day.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. I mean,
yeah, he and his dog
flip the script.
Yeah, him and his domesticated dog are going around, and they're just like terrorizing. They're just murdering him
left and right.
Because
that's funny.
Yeah, I forget what I got here. I can't believe you haven't seen that movie.
No, I've seen the movie.
Oh, okay.
It's just been a long time.
Sure.
So I don't remember that particular, the scene that you're referencing. I don't remember that exactly. I remember the laboratory, but I just don't remember that moment.
Yeah. In the version of the movie that you saw, does it end with the explosion, or does it end with him like driving up to a survivor community, talking on the radio?
Survivor community.
Yeah, I think that was the theatrical. I think that was the theatrical release. That makes sense.
I don't know. There was a survivor community. I don't think he was there though. I think he blew up.
So he did blow himself up. Okay.
Yeah,
oh no, I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah.
The chick and the kid.
I almost forgot about them.
Yeah.
So they make it to
the chick and a kid, right?
It's at least a chick.
I thought it was two people. But I could be totally wrong.
The dog always dies.
Been a long time. Yeah. Yeah, that was an intense movie.
Yeah, it was an intense book too.
I believe it. Well, we've gone definitely past an hour and a half.
Sure.
I don't know what the final runtime will be, but I'm guessing. I'm guessing closer to 2 hours.
Yeah, you are not editing this tonight.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Editing this tomorrow. You have any final thoughts? You want to maybe plug your room for anyone local?
No, I'm good.
Honestly, most of the audience.
In general, play more escape rooms. Support local businesses. Like real talk though. When you're looking for an event experience, try to find people who care about your experience.
Yeah.
Just in general.
That's a good message, I think.
Yeah, I'd like to go out on that.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was great.
This was fun.
It's awesome. We will definitely do it again at some point.
Yeah, I'm totally down.
All right. Until next week. Thank you for listening to this week's extended episode of Spy-Fi After Dark. If you enjoyed the episode, consider rating or subscribing on whatever platform you're on. We'd really appreciate it. Next week, I talked to my friend Curtis about game design, whether we should pay NCAA athletes, and more. If you'd like to be notified of that episode, you can follow me on Twitter at MillanTweets. That's MILLAN tweets. And don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Right. Spy-fi after dark.
Yeah.
Have you? Wait. So if you recorded yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw you at sundown.
Oh yeah, that one was not after dark. That one was.
That was a special edition.
Right in the middle of the afternoon.
Okay.
A lot of them.
How did you pick this title?
Well, see, Spy-fi.
And you stylized it a certain way too, yeah.
Spy-fi will be a larger thing.
Oh, you're building a brand.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. And then the more age-appropriate version will not have the after dark tag.
Well,
It'll be like Saturday mornings or
if I
trying to
did
hit every
anything
demo.
like that, yeah.